These were the 4 brands that I was interested to get a car in. They have done a safety check from their end, and then only they are putting the cars on their website. So the car was listed for 22,500. If you don't like a car, you can return it back and get the full refund within 10 days. The benefit of using this app in your phone is depending on how you are driving, that you could get certain discount. Growing up in India, there were 3 basic needs that everybody would need to have: roti, kapra, and makan. If you are in Canada, even these 3 needs won't suffice. You would need a 4th one, and that is called Gadi. This video is about that. Hi Cainds, welcome back to the channel Be Kind. My name is Shrey. My wife and I moved to Canada about a year ago, and we just purchased a new condo and a new car. Well, a used car, but a new one for us about 3 months back. So this video, we'll talk about what are the various ways of buying a car in Canada, and we'll focus specially on buying a used car. So we will cover all aspects related to buying a used car, so stay tuned for this video. And in case you haven't watched that video where we purchased our condo and our car, we have linked it down below. And in case you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It will be a big boost to us. So there are 3 essential ways of buying a car in Canada. The first one is a new car purchase, where you just go to the dealership, pay either the full amount in down payment or pay a part amount, and then do your monthly installments based on interest rate, and that way you can purchase the car. This is very similar to how we used to purchase it back in India. When you purchase a new car, that car becomes yours. There are no conditions on the use of car or how many kilometers you can drive, whether you can take it to any state, or even you want to sell the car immediately the next day, you can do that. The second option is where you lease a car. In leasing, it's like you're getting a new car, but the car is not yours. You have taken it on rent from the dealership, and the rent is based on a specific amount of period. It can be 3 years, 4 years, and then after that period, you have to either return the car to the dealership, or you can buy the car outright at the value that the dealership will tell you what it will be at the end of the lease period, or you can upgrade to a better car after the end of the lease period. Leasing is very similar to getting a house on rent, where you have agreement with the landlord, and then after that agreement you can decide what you want to do, whether you want to continue or move to a new house. That is very similar to lease. You have to pay some down payment, and depending on that, your lease amount will be decided. There is an interest that you will be paying in here because you are renting, so the car will not be yours. There are some conditions that come with leasing, generally on the number of kilometers you can drive every year. You can't modify the car as well, and there are certain conditions that will be part of your lease agreement. The third way of buying a car is to buy a used or a pre-owned vehicle, and we'll talk more about that in this video because that's what we did for our car. So before we move ahead, let us share why we decided to buy a pre-owned car and not a used car. So when we moved in Toronto about a year ago, we were living in Midtown Toronto. It was a very central area. We were 5 minutes walking from the Eglinton subway station. Our offices were very accessible through the subway station as well. Both me and my wife, we used to go to office about 2 to 3 times a week, and it was very accessible to us, and all of our grocery stores and everything else that we needed was within walking distance. So we didn't need a car then, and we didn't even have a parking spot. So that's why we avoided getting a car in the first year. Whenever we wanted a car, we could either do an Uber or do a car rental. But then when we were moving to Etobicoke, which is more of a suburban area, we realized that we would need a car here, especially for grocery shopping and moving around, because it's not very accessible via public transport. That's when we decided we would need a car. And because we were also buying a condo, we didn't want another loan on our heads, so we wanted to make a cash purchase for the car instead of increasing our monthly mortgage as well as the car loan payment. So we thought we will buy it everything in cash, and to also avoid the high interest rates that were going on about 8-9%. And then we estimated how much cash we would have available with us, with which we can pay the down payment of the house as well as buy the car. And that came to about $15,000 to $20,000 that we could keep aside for the car. So that became our starting point. That was the budget. Then we looked at what are the various brands that we want to get a car for. For me, it was either Honda, Toyota, Nissan or Mazda. These were the 4 brands that I was interested to get a car in, and there were few reasons for it. Firstly, these cars are reliable in terms of their engine as well as their quality. They have a good resale value. you, they are decently priced, they are not exorbitant, they have a decent mileage. So basis these conditions, I started looking at whether I could get a new car within my budget and these brands. And we visited a lot of dealerships to look at the cars. And at that point in time, I think we were only getting few starting cars like Mazda 3 that could be in this range, that was slightly higher, but that was the starting car that we could have gotten. And Mazda 3 was either a sedan or a hatchback. Here came in my another requirement, that I wanted to get a SUV, and that's more of a personal preference. I have driven a sedan back when we were in India. We used to have a Maruti Ciaz, and I didn't personally prefer the design of a sedan over an SUV. So that's why we wanted an SUV to start here. And the second key requirement that we had was to have a four-wheel drive. That helps especially in snowy conditions as we are in Canada. So with these two conditions, I realized very quickly that we were not getting an SUV, a four-wheel drive, within the budget that we had in the new car range. So that's when we started to explore used cars or pre-owned vehicles. If we were looking about 1 year ago, even pre-owned vehicles were selling as much as new cars because of demand and supply. There were very few used cars in the market, especially after COVID. But then when we started looking, which was like in December of last year, the market had slowed down to some bit and we were getting a lot of used cars within our budget. So once we decided what are the requirements, what's the budget, and what type of car we want to look at, we started to explore few avenues for looking at the cars. The first one was looking at websites of dealerships like Honda, Toyota, and Nissan dealerships, and looking at there is generally a pre-owned vehicle section on the dealership's website, which are generally certified vehicles. So we started looking there. The second option that I really liked was to explore Clutch. So Clutch is like a online marketplace where you are purchasing directly from Clutch. You are not purchasing from any seller. So Clutch has purchased all the vehicles in their inventory. They have done a safety check from their end, and then only they are putting the cars on their website. So that was the second option. And another benefit of using Clutch is that if you don't like a car, you can return it back and get the full refund within 10 days. So I thought that was a very good option, especially when you're buying a used car. You get 10 days to assess the car, and then if you don't like it, you can send it back. So that the second option was Clutch. And the third option was marketplaces where there are sellers who are selling their car and it's a one-to-one interaction. So we explored Facebook Marketplace, and I don't think I explored Kijiji, but primarily Facebook Marketplace. And then when I realized that I'm buying a car for like $15,000-$20,000, I thought to only stick with reliable and authorized vendors like dealerships or Clutch because of trust issues. So I very quickly decided that I would not go the Facebook Marketplace route. And another reason for that is generally sellers, when they are selling their car on Facebook Marketplace, they will not do the safety certificate for you, and they will also not provide a Carfax. So when I shifted my focus to used cars, some additional requirements came into play. What were those requirements? Those requirements were that the car should be 2018 or a newer model. I was willing to go up till like 5 years. I was looking in 23, so I thought, okay, 2018 and onwards. Then the number of kilometers that I had was less than 1 lakh, so that there is decently life in the car available, which I would want to carry forward. So less than 1 lakh kilometers was the next constraint that I had. Also, no accidents prior. I didn't want a rebuilt car or anything that has even a minor accident, because I thought it would impact the resale value of the car a lot. And the last thing that I was looking for was whether the car is regularly serviced, where there have been any issues with regards to the service or repairs. So you must be wondering, where is that place where I can find all this information? And all this information about a used car is available in its Carfax report. A Carfax report is basically like a Facebook profile of your car. It would have the odometer reading, accident history, service record, whether the car was stolen, or any recalls that the manufacturer has issued. So all that comes a part of the Carfax report. You can get the Carfax report online using the VIN number, VIN, which is Vehicle Identity Number, which is very similar to the chassis number that we used to have back in India. So you can either look up the Carfax report, or when the seller is listing their car, they also provide Carfax reports sometimes. So that helps to look at the history. So Clutch and dealerships generally do provide Carfax report along their cars. So then it helps the buyers to look at the Carfax history. Generally, Facebook Marketplace buyers do not provide Carfax report. They will provide the VIN number and you can check the report on your own, and it does cost some dollars. Then I started looking for the cars on these various portals like Clutch and dealerships. I would look at 20 to 30 cars every day, filtering them on the criteria that I just showed you to look for whether I could find anything in my budget and in my specification requirements. We also used to visit the dealerships when, say, I liked something online. We used to go to those dealerships to look at the cars in person and then do a test drive and also to look at the car. And we were also exploring dealerships not just within the city or where we were, but also outside the city, because generally sometimes they get better inventory, and I also saw that the rates were slightly lesser than the dealerships that were within the city or within the Toronto area. So the car that I found was in Stouffville, which is another city outside of Toronto, in a Nissan dealership, and it was a Nissan 2018 Rogue with 77,000 kilometers, no accidents, regularly serviced, and a clean Carfax. This car was actually sold by the dealership themselves to the first owner, and it was leased to the first owner. And because it was leased to the owner, they had mileage constraints. So the car was very well maintained because it was a leased vehicle. And then the first owner gave the car back to the dealership and upgraded the car to another one. So I knew that this has been regularly serviced with Nissan Stouffville, and it was a very clean car. So when I went for the test drive, I did an inspection of the car thoroughly inside and out. I looked at the features and looked at whether there was any dents or rust on the car, and the car was relatively very clean. It wasn't looking like it was a used car. It had various features in addition to what I was looking for. It had Apple CarPlay, so which comes in really handy, especially with Google Maps. So it had Apple CarPlay. It also had heated seats. So that was a very nice feature to have, especially in Canadian winters. It also had cruise control, which was another handy feature that comes in handy. And the speaker system also was very good. So it had very good sound system as well. So I inspected the car, I took it for a drive, and it was very smooth in driving as well. And because it was less than 6 years old, it also had a Nissan warranty, which comes from the manufacturer. So it also had that available. And they'd also done what is called a Nissan certification on pre-used vehicles for $899, which is something that I had to pay. And with that, what they do, they check basically all the very commonly used parts like your rotor, your brakes, oil, and anything that they find is less than their standard, they will replace the part or repair it. So the entire car is looked thoroughly by Nissan, and they showed me a record of this certification where they spent, I think, $2,000 just to ensure that the car is meeting their safety standards. So the car was listed for $22,500, which was within our budget. So I really liked the car. Initial deposit of $1,000 to book the car. After like 3 days, Kriti and I went to pay the entire amount on the car because both of us were the owners of the car. In case you want to buy your own number plate, you can do that. You can do a customizable number plate as well. Like you can have any alphabet written there. That costs about $300. But if you want a standard number plate, the dealership can do that at a cost of, I think, about $55. So in total, we had to pay $22,500. That was the amount of the car. $55 for the number plate, the taxes over and above, and the $899 for the Nissan certification. So I think that was the total amount that we had to pay. It came close to about $25,000. And then the next step that comes when you have bought the car is to get your insurance. So car insurance is a very big amount in Canada. It is not like India where it's very minimal. Depending on your car as well as your driving history, your insurance amount can vary a lot. It can be as low as $150, $200 per month to maybe $700, $800 per month, depending on what type of car and what license do you have. Because both Kriti and I have G license, our insurance amount came relatively lesser, and my wife also has a US driving history, so we were also able to show that. So it came for about $225 for the both of us together. We took it from TD. I found the rates were really reasonable. I inquired in multiple banks and insurance partners. I think TD's rates were one of the lowest ones, and we also got something called TD My Advantage app. The benefit of using this app in your phone is, depending on how you are driving, the next time you get your insurance renewed, that you could get certain discount. They will track how you are driving, how you are accelerating, how you are speeding, whether how your corners are, and basis that you can get up to like 10-15% discount the next time you renew. So we also got that. That's essentially what you need. In addition to your car papers that your dealership will provide, you will need an insurance before you take the ownership of the car. So we had that, all of that available. Then we went to the dealership. We had already paid the total amount. We just took the car and we were able to drive back home the same day. And it's been about 3 months that we have been driving the car. So far it's pretty smooth. It hasn't given us any problems so far, and it seems like a new car. So that was the process that we had for buying this car. If you want us to make a detailed video on purchasing as well as leasing, let us know, because 2 of my friends have leased their cars recently, so we can have them speak about it in case you are interested. But that was the entire process of buying a pre-owned vehicle in Canada. In case I missed out any point, please do mention it in the comments so that it can help others. But so far, that's it from our side from this video. I hope you like it. In case you liked it, please do subscribe to the channel. And until next time, we will see you very soon. Take care. Goodbye.